Hi, I'm Rich Kamerman. You're listening to the 1000 Second Album Podcast, and these are the must-hear 10 plus minute songs that Jeff and I think you should listen to.
Hi, I'm Jeff Stephen, and you're listening to the 1000 Second Album Podcast. This season, we're talking about must-hear lists as I continue to ask people that are important to me all about the music that's important to them. Enjoy! Please welcome back again, Rich Kamerman.
Hello, Jeff. I am very excited about being part of season three.
Yes, and thank you. And season three, for our hat trick of chats so far, we've opted for the topic of songs that are 10 minutes or greater. And I guess my question for you would be, what is it that appeals to you about the long song format?
Well, I've been a fan of the much maligned progressive rock genre for a long time, which is known for extended solos and multi-part suites. There's a lot more to prog rock than that, but there's so many great songs that you can't you can't deliver what you want to deliver in 3 minutes. And the best of the artists that were able to do that had to do it in 10 minutes, 15 minutes or more. But I'm proud to say that it's not all prog rock.
Nice. We got to keep it mixed up, of course, which is good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. And I agree with you too about the that giving the breathing room for that sort of multi-part, multi-sections. And I've always been fond of the expression. There's a great Canadian author named Terry Fallis that is of the philosophy, why use 7 words when you can use 35? So there's something that appeals to me about letting people have that space. And as a in my very formative years, I really got into music right around the time of Guns N' Roses' video for November Rain. So
Yes.
not only did the song have multiple phases, but the video had a whole sort of story arc that, like you said, 3 minutes would be insufficient, but when you have 8 minutes and 55 seconds to play around with, you've got time for some storytelling in there too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yet 8 minutes and 55 seconds is not enough for this
Mhm.
conversation. We're talking 10 minutes or more.
That is correct. And the and even with that strict self-imposed restriction, there's still many a song that didn't make our finalists. And do you have any ones that were close but not quite there?
I have a lot, and I set some rules for myself that I guess in our pre-taping discussions you said they're more like guidelines, and it's true. So, and I ended up breaking them, not for the top five, but I have a bunch of honorable mentions, and my rules for myself were no live tracks because a lot of bands do extended improvisations and jams. So I could do a list of those. No medleys of songs. And then I didn't mention this to you, but I figured no jazz or classical because that could be a whole other conversation.
Mhm.
And so I'm just focusing on, I guess, rock and popular music. So yeah, my honorable mentions, I can start with two, and this is a rule I didn't even mention, but it was obviously 10 plus minutes, and there's two songs that didn't quite make it to 10 minutes, but I had to bring them up. So the first one is Al Stewart, who is known best for Year of the Cat and Time Passages from 76 and 78, respectively. He had a great song called Nostradamus in 1973 or 74 that was 9 minutes and 44 seconds, and it's fabulous, well worth checking out. And the other one, it was the first song I thought of, and I was sure it was over 10 minutes, but it's actually 9:50. It's Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell, the title track from the 1977 album. Even if you find Meatloaf to be a bit of a joke, a little bit silly, that song is incredible. Todd Rundgren's production, Jim Steinman's songwriting, and the incredible band and Meatloaf's voice is amazing. An epic of epic proportions.
I like it. And if you round up, it's 10 would be the nearest full number, I guess.
Exactly.
So
So thank you. But so I had to mention those two. And then how many, because I'd like to get the honorable mentions over with, and then we can do a countdown at the end.
love it.
So I have a bunch. I could just mention them quickly. How many honorable mentions do you have? Because I'd love to have a little back and forth.
I didn't have too many official ones, but I'm sure as you go through your list, I'm guessing I'll be like, oh yeah, good choice. I like what you've done here, or that sort of thing. So yeah, but and it's funny, the one I had on my list was probably my favorite album of the last couple of years was MJ Lenderman's Manning Fireworks, and the last song on that is exactly 10 minutes long, called
Oh,
Bark at the Moon, where it's I guess a tip of the hat to Ozzy there as well.
yeah.
But the last 6.5 minutes or so are just guitar feedback. And so I thought, although it wasn't one of the rules we talked about earlier, it's like, I guess in the spirit of the list, it should probably be a song. Like there should still be song rather than just feedback for, more than half of it.
Okay. I'm going to check that out though.
It's a good one, yeah. But yeah, so where'd you go after those two honorable, not quite 10-minute ones? Where'd you go from
Yeah.
there?
Okay. So, all right. So we've got a few that they're definitely over 10 minutes. One of them is the Abbey Road medley, side two by the Beatles. It's actually I mean, it's sort of a medley of song snippets. They're not full songs going from, I guess, You Never Give Me Your Money and all the way to the end. It's incredible. If it was one song, it definitely would have been in the top five. I figure you're a fan.
Oh, very much. Yeah, that would be on the podium for me for sure. And I disqualified it on my list because I think it was individual CD tracks, and so I thought
Yes.
if it broke it up into those, then I was like, I guess I better call that individuals rather than medley. But as a whole, it works magnificently.
Yes. And then the one live track that I wanted to bring up, it's the Allman Brothers Band in memory of Elizabeth Reed from their career-making at Fillmore East album. That song is just amazing. It's not a jam. That was a constructed, well-constructed performance by the entire band. And the studio version, which is not quite 10 minutes, is excellent. But that version, that's the definitive version. But it's live, and so it's honorable mention, but it really doesn't make the list.
Yeah, fair enough. The other one I had that was in the conversation was the opening track. Although it's one of the less appealing titles that I ran into on the 1001 albums list, one of the most appealing opening tracks, the opening track from Funkadelic's Maggot Brain,
Oh
with just
yeah.
like it's essentially like a 10-minute guitar solo, but
Yep.
it was just a wonderful way to kick off an album, and it definitely got my attention right away.
Oh, that should have been on my honorable mentions. I can't believe I overlooked it. Um, as I mentioned to you earlier, most of the songs on my list, the honorable mentions and my top five, are from the 60s and 70s, but there's actually one from this century. It's the Decemberists
Oh, nice.
with the Crane Wife 1 and 2. That was the album of that name. The Crane Wife came out in 2006. That was my introduction to them. I love them. They're very unique. And that song is over 11 minutes long, and it's a great introduction to that band.
Nice. Nice. And I'm pleased on my eventual top five, I was able to get one song in this millennium as well. It was the year
Nice.
2000, but it started with the two, so I was happy to at least sneak one in there.
Excellent. Okay. So what else do you have?
I think those are I guess as a Canadian, I can't help but say 2112 as well. And so to give
Yes.
to give Rush the tip of the hat and I'm always partial to a good palindrome as well. And so but overall, I think a lot of the ones I would have liked to have chosen, I didn't realize how much of my collection was in that sort of like 7, 8, or 9 minutes, where these
Yes.
sprawling tracks, but just didn't quite sprawl for long enough. And so,
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I also decided to only choose one song per artist
yeah.
because otherwise, I could literally make my top five one artist and
Yes.
their five longest songs. Although another honorable mention is Mr. Bob Dylan.
Mhm.
He has, I think, about six or seven songs that crack the 10-minute mark, but two classics from the mid 60s are Desolation Row and Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. Both, even if you're not a Dylan fan, I recommend checking them out.
For sure. And I had the song Echoes on the other day, and I realized, yeah, we could have easily done a must-hear five just of Floyd as well. So
Oh, you might be hearing that title later in this discussion.
it might not be the last
Okay,
time they appear.
exactly. So I also had Dire Straits has one song that's over 14 minutes long called Telegraph Road
Hmm.
from their fourth album in 1982. It kind of took everything that they did up to that point and they made it into one grand song. And it was before they took over the world with, Money for Nothing and the Brothers in Arms album. But it's really astounding. His guitar work is great, the vocals, the whole band is great. So again, another one I highly recommend.
Nice.
I'll go through quickly a few other honorable mentions if you
Please
don't
do,
mind.
please do,
I'll
please do.
keep talking.
Yeah.
Neil Young has a song called "Cowgirl in the Sand," one of his best.
Hmm.
It was from I think 1969. Yeah, just his unique guitar playing makes that song worth hearing. It's just over 10 minutes, maybe like 10:05.
Hmm.
The Doors had two really long songs. If I had to choose one over the other, I chose The End, but there's also When the Music's Over. Those are two. I mean, there's no band that sounds like The Doors, and those songs are just they're unlike anything else you'll hear. So, are you a fan?
I am, and the I was going to say, especially with the end, the we were talking about The Simpsons recently, and having Homer Simpson singing the end at one point in an episode doesn't hurt its case either for me.
That's right. And then I can't believe that Genesis did not make my top five, but they have a bunch of long songs. There's the musical box, Supper's Ready, One for the Vine, Domino. But the one I chose was the Cinema Show from my favorite Peter Gabriel era Genesis album, Selling England by the Pound. So if anybody wants to hear long form early Genesis, highly recommended. I'll go through a few others quickly because we want to get to our top
Yes.
five. That's the reason for this. So there's Traffic, the low spark of high heeled boys, Steve Winwood at his best. There's also Television. They're considered like the punk era, but they are not a punk band. They're just a great dual guitar band. Marquee Moon, the title track of their 1977 debut, wonderful. Grand Funk Railroad, Closer to Home, I'm Your Captain, also just clears the 10-minute mark. That was one of the early songs I would hear on rock radio in when I was listening maybe in the late 70s, early 80s. They played that all the time, and I still love it. There's also David Bowie has the song Station to Station. This is tough. He was right bubbling under my top five, so it was so close to making it, but didn't quite. And then the hardest one for me to leave off of my top five because we're leading up to it now was Iron Maiden's Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner from 1984. Just incredible. I don't really know much about Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who wrote the poem in I believe it was the late 18th century, but I know the song is incredible and the poem is probably just as good.
Nice. The and I won't specify which, but one of those ones you just mentioned will appear on my top five. And the
Okay.
you mentioned the album "Selling England by the Pound," and I remember when I got to that album on the albums list, I was lucky to find an old copy for $2, and I was delighted that $2 Canadian worked out to about one British pound at the time. So I appreciated that
Nice.
sort of symmetry to it all, I suppose. But yeah.
Excellent find.
So we've and we found no shortage of good long tracks that exceeded the 10-minute mark. The question then becomes which five from each of us ended up making that elusive must-hear list.
Yeah, and the elusive Venn diagram.
Yes.
I'm very excited to see that. I hope we have a few in common.
And if
So
not, if not, at least we've got honorable mention. If in the worst case scenario, we've got honorable mention and Venn diagram overlap at least. So
that's true.
if all
So
else fails.
who goes first?
Do you want to start, or I guess yeah, we can break with format, and I'll kick it off if
Ooh,
just to make
okay.
it interesting. So
All right.
the first one I had on my list here clocked in at 11 minutes and 12 seconds, and this is the one that appeared in the year 2000. It was from the album Blood Flowers by the band The Cure, and the song is
Hmm.
called "Watching Me Fall." And in my line of work, I have the nice luxury sometimes of when students are really into music, they'll bring in stuff that they really want me to hear, and I'll uh, reciprocate by lending them some of my records and that sort of thing. And I remember I loaned a student one of my Cure albums one year. And they came back saying like it takes forever to get to the verses. It's like 2 minutes of intro before the verse. Like exactly, that's amazing. So, and watching me fall is probably one of the more extended examples of that. And it's yeah, there's this great emotional build up to it. At the time, I think Robert Smith was feeling like that his sort of fire or passion for songwriting was sort of fading, and there's a recurring lyric like the fire's almost out a few times through the album. But if that was the sound of the fire going out, it went out with a bang because it was just exceptional track, really big emotional build up, and the closing wail that he does is again 11 minutes into the song, he's still wailing those vocals, and so for that stamina and that great start to the 21st century, The Cure, "Watching Me Fall" would be my first one on my list.
Okay, I'm looking forward to hearing that. I was a very casual Cure fan until I forgot, maybe it was 10 years ago. I did a blog post where I had the series compilation or catalog, and I only had a compilation, and some Cure fans convinced me that I should explore some of their catalog. So I ended up with maybe four or five of their classic, 80s recordings. Maybe I got to, I think it was Wish in 92,
Yep.
or I don't know if that's the case, but I didn't explore their catalog any further than that. So now I'm going to. So
Nice.
thank you.
Anytime. And
All right.
so I wouldn't be surprised if that's not our overlap one, but what was the fifth one on your list then, I
Okay,
guess?
number five for me is Funeral for a Friend slash Love Lies Bleeding by Elton John. Who would expect Elton John to be on a 10 plus minute discussion? And yet, this song is everything. The second half, the vocal song, Love Lies Bleeding, is just classic Elton. The band is incredible, the vocals, his piano playing, but that intro, the funeral for a friend, is just so atmospheric and not what you would have expected from Elton. But it's long been one of my favorites from one of my maybe top three Elton John albums. So there you go, number five.
Love it. And the I've got some good news and some great news. The second song I had right after The Cure there was by somebody named Sir Reginald Kenneth Dwight, and the Elton John "Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding." And so we hit it early. That's amazing.
Venn
Yeah.
diagram. Nice.
And I agree with all of your supporting evidences there. I like how you used the word atmospheric. The word I had scribbled down was ominous for how
Yes.
that
Hmm.
synth sounds at the beginning with the wind sort of rustling there as well. I really liked the audacity to have a double track to kick off a double LP. It was just
Yes.
such a nice it felt like such a nice bold statement. And in turn, you mentioned this might be among your top three Elton. In terms of a three pack, that's got to be about as potent a side one of any double LP that I can think of, where tracks one, two, three, I think ended up adding up to about 20 minutes as well. And
Yes.
just what a start. And I'm sorry I missed when he came to Kingston. I think the concert was somewhere right around the due date of our first child, so we didn't end up going. But apparently he opened the concert with this song, where
Oh.
again I applaud that strategy of kicking off the show like that. And yeah, I didn't kick off my list with it, but my second one, Elton John, "Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding."
So that is an absolute must hear.
Yes.
Okay.
Confirmed by multiple sources. So,
Yeah. And my understanding is that they didn't write those songs as a pair, but I think one of them ended in the same key that the other one started in. And so they just, I don't know if it was the producer or if Elton just decided at some point, let's put them together. So technically, it's a medley as opposed to one song, but come on. Who follows rules, right?
And I think it did meet the sub criteria of it's still listed as one like one period, this two period, then would be Candle in the Wind and that sort of thing. So
Right.
I think we're legit. That's good.
Yes. Okay.
Nice. Where'd you go with the next one is the
Okay.
question.
Number four, we're going back to Rush. We're in Canada, and I had a few to choose from. There was 2112. There's Cygnus X1, both books one and two from I guess 77 and 78, and the Camera Eye from Moving Pictures. But I chose probably my favorite Rush song, Xanadu. It's 11 minutes. It's a little bit, if you don't like prog rock, you're not going to like this one, but this is them firing on all cylinders. It's from the album A Farewell to Kings in 1977. It's every one of those guys was just at the peak of their creativity and their instrumental abilities. So uh, and I believe it actually is this the second time that Samuel Taylor Coleridge comes up because it was based on one of his poems. So I don't know. Again, I really should probably explore Coleridge's work. I'll do that. Maybe we'll discuss that in season four.
The must
But
read poems.
yes, so but I have to say that that Rush song is just it's incredible. That's really the only word I can use. And I don't know if you've heard it, but it's wonderful.
Nice. And the in terms of I think what I'm always most impressed with Rush is just what those three guys can do. Like just how full they can make if it is like obviously like in studio recordings there might be some overdubs and that sort of thing, but
Hmm.
even just when you see that just the three of them playing, it's amazing how full three people can sound if you're Rush.
And I saw them a few times. I saw them on the Moving Pictures tour, and they played these songs. They played them live, just the three of them, no help,
Yeah.
no samplers or anything
Yeah.
else. I mean, synthesizers,
Yeah.
sure, but they pulled it off. In
Amazing.
some ways, even better than the recorded version.
Nice. Nice. The and from your trio there, I went for a quartet of fellows with my third one. It ended up with a running time of 10 minutes and 46 seconds, at least the version of it that I know. And you alluded to it earlier with just a couple of guitars, a bass, and drums. The band is Television. The song is Marquee Moon.
All
And,
right.
and so what I think I really liked about this one was that it was it was the title track, of course, as well. It was new to me within the last 10 or 15 years or so. I really like how relatively minimalist it is, because a lot of the times with these epic tracks, there's so many layers to them, but with these guys, it just seemed pretty two guitars, bass, drums for the bulk of it, and so that
Hmm.
was really refreshing. I liked how the extended solo just felt so unpolished. That was again just a really nice detail there. And as a drummer yourself, I'd imagine you approve of the those verses with that really nice sort of dancey beat with the opening of the
Yes.
hi-hat and everything. It's just so such a nice detail there. But for I'm sure you can comment more about Television Marquee Moon, just a keeper by all internationally recognized measurement systems.
Ab Absolutely. Yeah, Billy Ficca is the drummer, and I love that. I had actually written about them at my blog years ago. I'm not going to read the whole thing that I wrote about it, but really it comes down to the last thing I wrote is this song takes the listener on quite a ride. It goes all over the place, and yet it's cohesive. And definitely the pinnacle of their their recording career, but still probably the definitive song by Television.
Nice. And the so you have mentioned that one before, so I know it won't be one of your remaining three, but what is
That's
the
true.
third one of your remaining three is the question.
Okay, well, of course, I had to mention the kings of prog rock, yes, and there are so many songs I could choose. My favorite, but it's not the one I've chosen. My favorite song by Yes is "And You and I." From their Close to the Edge album, which also includes Close to the Edge. It's over 20 minutes long. There's The Gates of Delirium. There's their version of Paul Simon's America, Awaken, Machine Messiah. They have so many long songs, but the one I've chosen is Heart of the Sunrise from their Fragile album, which is anybody. This is a song that if you think you don't like prog rock, but you like crunchy guitars and heavy music, give this a listen. I think this was even featured in, it was a Vincent Gallo movie years ago called Buffalo 66. Man, it's been years since I saw it, 25 years ago maybe. And he used this song to really great effect.
Heart of the Sunrise is the name.
Heart of the
The
Sunrise.
nice, and it was. I remember they had a trio of albums on that 1,000 list, and I think it was the third, fourth, fifth in their career. It was the
Hmm.
yeah, Close to the Edge, Fragile, and the Yes album. I can't remember which order they go
Yes.
in, but
Hmm.
it was three for three there, and so I've heard it, but I can't remember it. So it's the best kind of homework, putting things like, oh yeah, I gotta go revisit that one, and so
And technically it's over, it's about 11 and a half minutes,
yeah.
but there's I think a little reprise of one of the earlier songs in the last minute of the track. So the song itself is only 10 and a half minutes, but it still
So
qualifies.
reprise or no reprise, so that's good.
Yes.
Nice. For my penultimate one, it's the longest one on my list. You did mention him earlier, where at it's sort of a great pendulum swing from the minimalism of television to the absolute over the top of Meatloaf. And speaking of the power of music video, one of those early 90s ones that I just loved was his 1993 tune, I Would Do Anything for Love.
Ooh.
And so the video I think was somewhere in the 6 minute range, but then on the album it was double that with some
Hmm.
added verses and motorcycle sound effects and you name it. And I think one of the things that I really liked about the extended version was that they really made you wait. Like, and it was sort of incongruous with a lot of the stuff at the time, where a lot of the early 90s was quiet verse, distorted chorus, but he
Hmm.
had giant verses, but then kept pulling it back to the I would do anything for love, just gently, until about the 7 minute mark where there's the big payoff and he's got that great sort of operatic delivery when finally it's the huge chorus at that point. And I think the female vocal in this version comes in around 9 minutes or so. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's over the top in the best possible way. And I also love how Meatloaf has all these boundaries in songs, like two out of three ain't bad, and here he would do these things but not that. And so I'm fond of him like managing expectations through lyrics as well. So Meatloaf, I'd do anything for love.
Yeah, and that's really the writing of Jim Steinman.
Yeah.
That was all his work. And I had seen Meatloaf during a down part of his career. It was about a year before Bad Out of Hell 2, the album you're talking about. And I think he was opening for, it might have been Santana or Dylan. I don't remember who it was, but he excitedly said, "We're going to be releasing Bat Out of Hell 2 soon. And we're very excited." And everybody kind of groaned like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that's going to be good." It's too much time has passed. At that
Yes.
point, it was 15 years. And then who knew that a year later he would have the comeback that he talked about? I was never a huge fan. I've listened to it a few times. It didn't impact me the way that the first album did, but
Yes.
I will say that that video where doesn't he become like a monster? It's like Beauty and the Beast at some
Yeah,
point during the
exactly. Yeah, I
video.
think there's some, yeah, whether it's or Phantom of the Opera overtones.
Yeah.
There's a like, yeah, it's definitely very theatrical, and it's probably because that was my Meatloaf intro. I probably, if I hadn't been negative 4 years old when Bat Out of Hell came out, that one would probably, yeah, would have been the one that really resonated with me, I bet. But
But
because I heard this one at that key age, it has that momentum for me.
that's great. And I'm glad Meatloaf can show up twice here in this
Yeah.
discussion. So go Meatloaf. All right. Number two is, and the top two are my two favorite artists. Number two is Pink Floyd, and there's a few I could choose from. I could have chosen Shine On You Crazy Diamond, which I probably should have. There's also the three songs on animals, dogs, pigs, and sheep, also all wonderful. But the song that I have listened to more, the long song that I have listened to more than any other song is Echoes, all 23 and a half minutes of it. And I know that's asking a lot of listeners, people who may not be fans, to say a 23-minute song, really? But just just take some time out. I even recommend throughout college and afterwards, anytime I had a bad headache, I would put on Echoes. I would sit back. Sometimes I might take an Excedrin, and maybe the Excedrin did half the work. But listening to Echoes by after 23 and a half minutes, the headache was gone and everything was right in my world. So it doesn't get much better than Echoes. And that to me is number two. It's not quite number one, but you'll see why in just,
Yeah.
a short amount of time. Well,
All will be explained. Yes.
yes.
That's good. No, very nice choice. And for me, before we get kicked out of our Zoom,
Mhm.
I'll try to be as efficient as possible when I describe the band that got me into long songs, Guns N' Roses. They had so many approaching that 10-minute mark, but it was their song Coma that clocked in at 10 minutes and 13 seconds that pushed them over the edge and would be my final selection here. I think it's a great, I don't know if you can call something over 10 minutes a microcosm, but it's a nice sort of like sample of the sprawling mess that is Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. It's chaotic. There's the sort of heart monitor sound effects. There's doctored voiceover. There's this recurring spooky bass pattern. Slash is brilliant on guitar, of course, throughout. And it reminded me of I don't know if you ever saw Fred Armisen's bit where he's pretending to be the second guitarist learning how to play Carry On My Wayward Son, where there's so many like seemingly unrelated riffs, and then like, just as he's figured out the first one, it's like, oh, now we got to go to this, and so
Yeah.
it's. I feel like if a cover band was trying to learn how to play Coma, it would be such a difficult task because it. Yeah, I don't even know how to describe the structure, but whatever it is, it's a mess and it works, and it's 10 minutes well spent. Coma by Guns N' Roses.
I have listened to User Illusion volumes one and two a couple of times, but not enough to know that song. So again, this discussion is going to put me back because those are two long
Yes.
albums, right? They're probably 75 minutes each,
I think
so
so,
it's a
yeah.
lot of music to go through. But I'm excited. I'll definitely go back to it.
Nice. And if it was Floyd at number two, where'd you end up with number one?
Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
and I had three choices. There was Carousel Alhambra from In Through the Outdoor. There's Achilles' Last Stand, which as a drummer I could have and maybe should have chosen because it's a showcase for John Bonham. But In My Time of Dying by Led Zeppelin from Physical Graffiti in 1975. I know it was based on an old blues song. They were known for a lot of their own takes on blues songs, not exclusively, but they just made it into their own. It was like a tour de force of mood, tempo shifts. Jimmy Page is at the peak of his guitar playing. Bonham is like putting on a drum clinic. And to me, it's an incredible performance all around by my favorite band.
And yes, a very fitting choice then for number one. And I do really like those songs that really like if our criteria is must hear, and it does that job of showcasing each of the guys doing what they do best when they did it best. Can't argue with that.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention that I've created a Spotify playlist. And what I'm going to do is, and it's got my top five along with all of my honorable, just about all of my honorable mentions. If it's okay, maybe I'll add your songs as well.
Please do.
And then by the time you share this episode, we could have like so people can easily listen to every song we talked about.
Love it. And I like that it'll be a generous playlist where if you're looking to fill a few hours, we've got you covered. Just kidding.
Absolutely. And you could explore more.
Exactly.
I could do part two with all of the songs we didn't include.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And we made it with 30 seconds to spare or so on Zoom. So a huge thank you for being here again today, Rich, and until round four.
absolutely. It was an honor. Thanks for inviting me again. Great talking to you. And all right, take care. Happy listening.
Take care.
Bye.
This has been the 1000 Second Album Podcast. Thanks for sharing some of your time, energy, and attention with us today. Take care.